Hey folks, Michael Anthony here with the Exceptional Life Podcast. Woo! Thanks for joining me on another episode. I just scared my dog if you hear that jingling, that's his collar. But I think I got all pumped up for the podcast, baby. Yeah, let's do it. All right, so we're here in another episode. You see I got my fancy whiteboard out, and sorry if the acoustics are echoing a bit, but I just intuitively wanted to do it in this corner of the room today. Just felt right. So this video is going to be specifically how to help manage your stress and self-regulate your emotions and what triggers you and how to manage that in order to be more stress-free, in order to counteract those stress responses that the body feels that causes you to feel anxiety, causes you to feel anger and stressed out, right? So I have 3 techniques I'm going to be talking about. I've been using these techniques for years. They're extremely powerful. They're simple, and you got to put in the work to do them though. And so we're going to talk all about these, but let's talk a little bit about stress. So first, the disclaimer: I'm not a doctor. I'm not any sort of expert in anything, right? This video is not to be used to diagnose or treat any sort of health condition or disease or whatever. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So with that said, 60 to 80% of primary care doctor visits are related to some form of stress, and stress manifests in the body in so many different ways and causes a cascade of chemical reactions in our body that make us feel that stressed feeling. And we're going to talk about that before we hop into these techniques. So if you want to go straight to the techniques, then go ahead and fast forward and we'll start talking about these techniques and how to use them right away so you can start to self-regulate that stress response and start to change the way you feel, okay? But I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk a little bit about stress so you understand exactly what's happening in the body from a physiological perspective, because it's so important. It's a pretty simple concept to grasp once you understand and wrap your head around what is happening in your body and where it's coming from and how it's being triggered. So as I said, stress can manifest in so many ways. It may be headaches, right? It may be grinding your teeth at night. It may be lying awake at night and not sleeping because your mind is racing, thinking about all the things that you got to do or that you didn't do right or you got to do in the future or whatever, right? Dwelling on past events, especially negative past events, worrying about the future, right? That causes a cascade of chemical reactions in the body. And these chemical reactions are triggering stress hormones such as cortisol and many others that make you feel that way. Okay? So let's break this apart. So you may have heard of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So the sympathetic nervous system is that fight or flight nervous system. It's been there since the dawn of time, since we've been human beings. It is that part of the nervous system that has kept us alive, that kept our ancestors alive, that allowed them to jump up and avoid danger, that allowed them to fight back against other tribes, right? It allowed them to defend their family and their homes. It allowed them to run from lions and tigers and bears, right? So it serves a very important purpose, right? If you are walking across the street and you didn't happen to look and there's a speeding car coming at you, that sympathetic nervous system kicks in instantly and allows you to react without thinking. You jump out of the way, you get that adrenaline response, you are ready to go, right? So it's that fight, flight, or freeze response. Now, the problem is, over time, human beings have manipulated that sympathetic nervous system by thought alone. That's become automatic habits. And I talk about this in some other videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I talk about the mind, but what is happening is people are living constantly in that sympathetic nervous response throughout the day. Sometimes all day, or several times a day, or even 50 times a day, they are activating that same fight, flight, or freeze response. And it's happening automatically because they've thought certain things over and over again that are disempowering, that are depleting. And it usually stems from something happening in their environment, right? So maybe you have a colleague that you can't stand, and you've learn to essentially hate this colleague. This person drives you nuts. Every day you see them, you go to work. Every time you talk to them, you cringe. You've developed these thought patterns that have become automatic, that automatically trigger that cascade of stress hormones that are making you react in that fight or flight response, and you don't even know it's happening because it's sunk into your subconscious and has become automatic. Your brain took your thoughts and your reactions literally and created an automatic habit loop out of it. So that's why people are living in a constant state of stressful fight, flight, fear, freeze, right? It's happening all across the world. Everybody is experiencing it at some level. And it's a natural response, but living in it habitually throughout the day, over and over again, that causes you to prematurely age, that causes disease, that causes the body to really break down, because the body is not designed to live in that constant state of fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. It's designed to react immediately and then to go back to the parasympathetic, which is the rest, relaxation, contentment, rejuvenation. So I'll give you one example, and then we're going to talk about the techniques. But here's one example. If you ever watch National Geographic and you see like the predator animals, the wolves or coyotes are going to hunt the deer, those deer are living in a parasympathetic, relaxed state throughout their day. They're browsing, they're enjoying life, they're eating, the browse, they're eating the grass. And then instantly, their sympathetic nervous system kicks in when the wolves show up or the coyotes show up to hunt them down. They instantly react. Their adrenaline goes. They go into that immediate flight response, right? All the blood is rushing away from their internal organs, going to their legs, and it's giving them the ability to utilize all of that oxygen and strength to really kick into high gear to escape danger. And then guess what? After they escape danger, 20 minutes later, they're back in a parasympathetic state. They're not thinking about what just happened. They're not worried about it happening in the future. They're living in the present moment, and they go about drinking some water, eating, enjoying life once again. Humans don't do that. Humans have this very powerful part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which allows them to dwell on past events and trigger the same emotions and response that they felt in some sort of negative event and carry it with them into the future. And a lot of people are just not living in the present state, enjoying the present moment. Like there's nothing going on right now. So why are you so stressed? Because you've built automatic habit loops out of things that have happened in the past, out of automatic thought patterns and emotions that you're triggering that are disempowering and negative. You're carrying it into the future because you're worried about, is it going to happen again in the future? I'm worried about my boss. I'm worried about what I got to do. I don't have enough time. So a lot of people are just living either in the past or in the future. They're not being in the present moment. And a majority of the time is spent in that sympathetic nervous response of fight, flight, fear, and worry. And they're just constantly triggering this cascade of chemicals. And there's like over 1,400 chemicals every time you have some sort of stressful thought or response or emotion, regardless if it's big or small. It doesn't even matter. You still have that same cascade of hormones that are triggering those emotions that make you feel that terrible anxiety, depression, irritability, anger, rage. And people are doing it over and over and over again, and the body is not designed for that. So let's talk about how to counteract that so you could start to live in that parasympathetic response, which is normal overall health and well-being. Rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. The body's releasing feel-good hormones. The body's all the biological systems of the body are operating in harmony and coherence. And from there, you can create greatness and happiness and joy, and you can live in that state 99% of the time. Okay, so I hope that gives you a little background on what's happening. I talk about some of this in some other videos, which I'll link to at the end of this video. And I know I've already taken up a bunch of time talking about it, but let's hop right into these techniques so you can learn how to counteract that response right away and how to restructure the way you're thinking and feeling on a daily basis. Okay? All right, let's do it. All right, so number one, breathing. Breathing. When I say breathing, I'm talking about deep abdominal breathing. It's such a powerful exercise. It's such a powerful way of living your life by utilizing this deep abdominal breathing on a daily basis, even repeatedly throughout the day, and turning this into a habit. You want to turn deep abdominal breathing into a habit. It's such an overlooked exercise, and I know some people are going to watch this and be like, whatever, breathing, I breathe every day, and just not understand the power of what's happening. So let me explain it real quickly. Taking the time to focus and be present on your breathing, consciously taking the time to breathe, deep abdominal breathing makes a shift in your physiological state, your state of being. Your psychophysiological state of being will shift, and you could put it into that parasympathetic response immediately, which is what we want to do. So a great time to use this deep abdominal breathing, well, I mean, you could use it just as soon as you wake up, before you go to sleep, throughout the day, whether there's something stressful going on or not. But a lot of people are experiencing these stressful feelings and emotions day in and day out, 20 times a day. They're constantly being triggered and they're constantly reacting. So the breathing, a great time to use it is when you're feeling that way. If you're feeling off in any way, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling stressed, fearful, if you're feeling nervous, irritable, socially awkward, whatever, any sort of stress feeling you're having, the great time to use this breathing is then, okay? And so how do you do it? It's simple. This type of breathing, you could shift your physiological state in less than a minute. So it doesn't take no time. So if you don't think you have time to do it, you're wrong. If you don't have a minute to do some deep abdominal breathing that can completely shift your day, then I don't know what to tell you. But you got to consciously make the time to do it. So you're feeling stressed. You're going to do at least 5 to 6 deep abdominal breaths. How do you do it? It's simple. You're going to breathe in through the nose. First, you're going to push that air down into the stomach. Okay? You're going to do maybe 4 to 6 seconds of breathing in nice and slow. So you want it to be a slow inhale. And then a brief pause after you've completely filled up your stomach first and then your chest. Brief pause, and then 4 to 6 seconds out. Now, there's no hard, fast rules on this. It's all about slowing your breathing down, being conscious, being aware, being present in the moment, and you're going to feel really good. You're going to feel it a lot of times right here in your chest, your solar plexus, maybe your head, your back. You're going to get these warm, fuzzy feelings. That's the shift. That is the feel-good emotions. That's the cascade of good, happy hormones being released. That's the parasympathetic response kicking in, okay? So if it's 3 or 4 seconds in and 3 to 4 seconds out, that's fine. I usually do anywhere from 4 to 6, even 7 seconds of deep breath in and deep breath out. So you may do 10 of these full breaths in 1 minute. Okay, but you want to do at least 5 or 6. If you could do 10, if you could do 20, that's great. The more, the better, okay? But for an immediate stress response, you're going to do the deep abdominal breathing. So let's do 5 of them right now together. Ready? So we're going to breathe in through the nose. I'm going to maybe do a count of 5 seconds, brief pause, and then out. I'm not going to count out loud or anything. So if you want to do this with me, let's do it right now and start to notice how you feel. When you're breathing in, focus on the breath going in. Feel it going in and out. And you're going to start to feel your body, the energy of your body shifting. And that's because of those hormones being released. It's a psychophysiological response. And it feels great. Okay, so let's do it. We're going to do 5 right now. Ready? I'm going to close my eyes. I like to close my eyes when I do this. You notice I go out through my mouth, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Number 2. We're going to do number 3, in through the nose. Number 4. So you should have noticed a bit of a shift there. I'm completely grounded, relaxed, present, yet aware, ready to go. So it's such a powerful exercise. And if this is the first time you're doing it, maybe you're not as feeling as good as I am at the moment, but I've trained myself over doing this every day for years, and that's the key. You want to start doing this breathing on a daily basis, especially when you have that stressful response. And if you're living in a state of stress constantly, you're really in a bad place and highly aroused by stress and anger and anxiety and nervousness and being triggered and being impatient, then you're going to want to do this breathing a lot. You're going to want to start to consciously become aware of when you're in that state. If it's 20 times a day, do the breath 20 times a day. Do 5 or 6 every time you're feeling that way. Because when you get done doing the breath, you're going to feel great. But 10 minutes later, you might be reacting again. So do it again. Now, you're not going to have to do that forever. So if you watch some of my other videos, I talk about how you could reprogram your subconscious mind. A lot of your thought patterns and corresponding emotions are probably disempowering, negative, and depleting. And so you may be living in a constant state of stress, and you may have automatic thought patterns you're not even aware of because they become ingrained in your subconscious mind, and they may have been there since childhood. So to change that programming, you're going to have to do a lot of this breathing and start to make that shift. But if you do it enough, it could become automatic. You could automatically program your mind over doing this over and over every day. And I don't know when the shift will happen for you. It could happen for some people pretty quickly, and other people it might take a year, right? But the point is, don't look at it like it's a chore. You want this to become a daily part of your life, just like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes or driving a car. Like, you had to learn how to do all those things at some point, and now they're just automatic and easy to do. You brush your teeth without even thinking about it, right? You could tie your shoes with your eyes closed. It's not a big deal. This breathing doesn't take any more than a minute to do, and if you start doing it every time you're feeling that stressful response and you're responding and you're irritated and you're nervous, then you're going to notice the shifts, and you're going to start to enjoy doing it, and you're going to do it more and more, and then it's going to start to become automatic. Isn't that powerful, that you could feel good automatically without consciously really focusing on doing it? That's what will happen. You will start to automatically generate that parasympathetic response, those feel-good hormones, those feel-good thoughts and emotions. And so I highly recommend making this breathing a part of your daily routine. Call it your mental hygiene. You have your normal hygiene rituals, right? Like, most people brush their teeth every day. Most people take a shower every day, right? So mental hygiene, stress management, emotional self-regulation, you should make that a normal part of your routine, right? Research has shown less than 3% of the people who go to their doctors because of stress-related illnesses, diseases, manifestations seek out any sort of stress management technique. People just don't know what to do or how to do it, or they blame things outside of them for their stress. But their body is their body. Their thoughts are their thoughts, and the way their thoughts are affecting their body through the corresponding emotions and the cascade of stress hormones that are happening, that's all them, right? So don't blame people and circumstances and events outside of you for how you feel. They have no control over your emotions. It's how you are reacting to them. Keep that in mind. It's how you are reacting to them. It's like if somebody calls you an insulting name, some people may get super upset about that, and they might dwell on that and hold a grudge forever about it. And they're constant. Know what that is? You know what that is? Them doing that, holding the grudge and being upset. That's them constantly reacting and thinking about it and reacting and causing all those hormones, the stress hormones, to go through their body. They're literally tearing their body apart from the inside out because how they're reacting to somebody insulting them. Whereas some people get insulted and they just let it bounce off them. They actually feel bad for the person that insulted them because they're like, wow, you really hold that level of criticism for me. You do know that people who hold judgment and criticism for others actually hold a lot of criticism for themselves. They actually judge themselves quite a bit, and they're projecting it out onto other people. So Basically, that means you do not like yourself. You do not like yourself so much that you're projecting your judgment and criticism out on me, right? That's just, I mean, just look at it that way. So it's about how you perceive. It's how you react. It's how you're triggered. You got to start to change that story, right? Don't get so upset about it. You're literally giving your power away to other people, situations, circumstances, the news, because you're letting it trigger you. You're letting those emotions get triggered because of your thoughts and your beliefs about the people, places, things, whatever. So you got to start to do some introspection and become aware of that. The breathing helps that. This is a great technique, so implement it. All right, so this video's going on and on. I like to talk, but I just want to help you. I just want to help you. I've helped myself, and I continue to live an awesome life. It wasn't always this way. There was times where I was super stressed, hair trigger temper. I mean, just, you know, completely different person in a sense. And I've completely reversed that on my own, doing my own research and reading and educating myself on these different practices and modalities, and it's truly phenomenal how much of a shift I've made in my life. And I know you can do it too. Anybody can do it. You can all do it. You all have greatness inside of you. You have greatness inside of you. You could be happy and healthy every day. So let's do it. All right, so number 2, this is going to be short because this is easy. Number 2 is a combination of number 1. You're going to do the breathing, but as you do the breathing, after you get about 3 or 4 breaths into the breathing and you're starting to feel really good, then you're going to instill an empowering feeling. So how do you do that? Well, you do it with a thought. You do it with an empowering thought or some sort of visualization, okay? So this is very simple. What you want to do is, once you get into that feel-good state, that physiological shift that you feel, you've done 3, 4, or 5 of these deep abdominal breaths, and you're starting to make that shift and become centered and aware and grounded, and you've counteracted that stress response. Now, you're going to think a thought that makes you happy. Think of something that makes you feel grateful. Think of things that you are grateful for. Think of things that bring joy. Maybe visualize how you want to feel. Visualize something that makes you happy. Maybe it's a beach. Maybe it's sitting on a beach, right? A beautiful white sandy beach. You can smell the salty air and hear the waves crashing and the seagulls going, and it's beautiful, right? So what you're doing is you're instilling some sort of empowering thought that's going to have a corresponding emotion, an empowering feeling. So the feeling is really what you're after. So regardless of what you think of, whether it's gratitude or joy or enthusiasm or happiness or $1 million or your lover or whatever, the feeling is what you want to feel. You want to feel that. So you're going to feel that joy, that excitement, that love, that confidence inside of you. So gratitude is a very powerful one to use. I've talked a lot about gratitude, so maybe check those videos out. Think it's something you're grateful for. Pets are excellent. Pets are always full of good, positive energy. A lot of people feel gratitude when they think of their pets. Or you can think of a loved one. Or you could think of some sort of situation or event or circumstance that happened to you that you're very grateful for. Or you could just visualize something that makes you feel good. Like I said, the beach, or maybe it's a log cabin out in the woods, right? Or maybe it's winning the lottery. It doesn't matter exactly what that thought is. What you're going after, again, is that emotion. So that's number 2. Now, the breathing is a great way to self-regulate that immediate emotion of stress, that disempowering negative emotions. If you're feeling in a stressful state, the breathing is a good way to counteract that. The second one is also good for that, but the second one is also good for restructuring your subconscious mind and your responses. So if you start to do this over and over again in conjunction with just normal breathing, if you start to implement this randomly throughout your day, maybe doing it a couple times a day, 3 times a day, as many times as you want, you'll actually start to restructure and rewire your brain so that you can instantly feel grateful or confident or happy or joyful or enthusiastic, empowered, inspired, right? You could start to generate those by planting the seeds along with the breathing. The breathing is going to get you in that right physiological state to start to plant these seeds into your subconscious mind of joy, love, confidence, courage, happiness, gratitude, so on and so forth. So try that out. I would use the breathing to counteract a stressful response in the moment. And if you're feeling really good and you have time, then inject that empowering thought, emotion, feeling, and really feel that and visualize it, dwell on it. Maybe do that for a few minutes. Or just start to do this randomly throughout your day. You could use this to counteract the stress response throughout your day. Maybe you're feeling stressed 20 times a day. Start to do that so you could start to change your brain, start to teach yourself how to manage your stress, and then use number 2 here. Maybe put it on your calendar, set a reminder on your phone to do maybe 2 times a day, 3 times a day, whatever. So this is great for restructuring that stress response, restructuring the mind and making it an automatic program, right? So these are great to use in conjunction. So I hope that makes sense. Now, number 3, we're moving on to number 3 here. Number 3, this technique I actually learned from Marissa Peer. Definitely check her out. She's amazing. She's a legendary hypnotherapist. She's phenomenal. But this technique I learned from her a couple years ago, and I don't use it a whole lot, but I do use it at times, and it's very powerful. So number 3, this AAA technique is really good for when you are in a very stressful state and you're at the point of no return, right? You are highly aroused with anger or rage or really bad anxiety or a panic attack or something like that, where you're just really beyond the point of even trying to stop and do the breathing, right? You might be so fired up, you might be so aroused that you can't even bring yourself to stop and do the breathing, right? You're beyond the point of no return. So in that situation, you don't want to try to suppress that, right? You need to feel it. And this technique Marissa talked about is great. I've used it in the past, and it is very helpful. So if you're beyond the point of no return, remember these 3 A's. It's a good way to remember it. First, you want to become aware of how you're feeling. Like, consciously become aware. So you're reacting. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're losing your temper. Become aware of that. Just know how you're feeling, okay? Number 2 is accept it. Yes, I am angry. I am angry beyond belief. I want to tear this house apart, right? Just accept it. And then articulate it. So this articulating part is probably the most important part of this process. A great way to articulate it is to go somewhere where you can be alone, maybe in another room where you could put on the music or turn on the faucet, on the sink, or even get in your car. I don't know if you want to drive around if you're highly aroused with anger, but if you could be, a car is a good kind of soundproof place to be. So maybe in your car, somewhere where you could really talk out loud and express your feelings. And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to articulate how you feel. If somebody made you extremely angry, let it out. You might have to cry. You might state it out loud as if you're talking to them, as if they are there. Let it all come out, exactly how you're feeling. Don't hold back. Just let it out. Yell, scream if you have to, put your face in a pillow or punch the pillow if you have to. Just feel it, right? Just feel those feelings. And and the reason you're doing that is to dissipate that highly aroused energy that's really triggering you beyond belief. You want to dissipate it, let it out, feel it. And just do that. You're only going to end up doing it for a couple minutes, because as you let it out and you feel it and you're accepting it, right? You're just feeling it, letting it out. You're saying how you feel out loud. You're dissipating that energy. You're letting that negative energy go. And that's a great point in time as you start to come down from that highly aroused state of anger or anxiety or whatever it is. As you start to come down from that because you've let it all out, maybe you were crying, you let it all out, you could go into the breathing, because you will calm down at some point. So as you start to dissipate that negative energy and you start to come down from that highly aroused negative state, right? Using the breathing will start to shift that physiological state even more to the parasympathetic response that you want. And on top of it, you can use number 2, where you're really injecting that empowering, feel-good feeling. Now, it's probably going to take some practice to be able to do that from this state where you're really angry or really feeling nervous or anxiety, or you're really upset with somebody, right? It's going to take practice. This is going to feel good to do. This one is easy to do because you can really feel that. But then being disciplined enough to focus on the breathing for a minute or so, or doing 5 to 10 of these breaths, it's going to take a little more conscious effort, but over time it's going to get better and better. So as time goes on, the beautiful thing is time goes on, as you're practicing these, you'll do this one less because you'll start to retrain your mind. You'll start to program your subconscious mind for more empowering thoughts and emotions. You'll have more control over your emotions and how you're triggered. You notice over time that you'll have to do this less. You'll be feeling better naturally, and you'll enjoy doing these. These will become routine for you. So that's the idea. These first 2 are great for emotional self-regulation, managing that stress in the moment. Number 2 is especially great for reprogramming the mind, because you're instilling these empowering thoughts that you want to feel more often. And then number 3 is for those highly aroused states that you're just beyond the point of return, where you cannot even think about breathing because you're so upset, right? So again, over time, you'll be doing this less. You'll be feeling good naturally, and you'll enjoy doing these. They'll become a normal routine. They'll become mental hygiene rituals that you'll want to do. And then maybe you'll share it with others too. So thanks for joining me on another episode of the Exceptional Life Podcast. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.